The screencast is going to show you how to show an instructions window, but really it could be any window. So the goal here is that we're going to click this help button here at the top, and when we do, we're going to show this instructions that is here in our library right now. And there's a few different ways you can do this and different methods of it, but I'm going to show a basic one and you can take it from there. So the important parts here are that this is a movie clip, and inside of it there is, if I go inside of this, notice now that I'm inside the instructions, alright, here, right, I'm inside that movie clip, and if we look at the properties, we'll see that it has a property of close_btn. Other things that you could turn into dynamic if you wanted to would be the title and the instructions themselves. If they're going to change, if you're going to have different instructions on different places or something, or it could change, that would be great. So if not, then you should make it like this one, just leave it as static text. If they are going to change, then you can give it an instance name like this here, and then you can change that dynamically. So again, we are going back to scene 1, just going to delete this, click on the question mark and show the instructions. And we'll also notice that we have a linkage name for instructions, and we're going to use that as well. Okay, what you also should have in the files that you've downloaded from class, if you're in my class, you should have these files. If you're not, then I will try to make it so you can follow along anyway. But inside of instructions, you have the FLA we're looking at now, the ActionScript file for the document class, and the instructions ActionScript file. We'll look at both of these as we go. They're both basically empty files. So if we go back here and look at main, there's no code in that, and neither is there any code in instructions. They're just sort of set up and ready to go. So one of the first things we're going to do is add a event listener for that button, right? So the button's name here, if we look at it, is help_btn. So we want a listener for that so that when we click it, it goes. And I'm going to add it here in the main, but you could add it wherever this button happened to show up in your movie. So help button, add event listener, mouse event, click on click help. And I'm making up on click help. By the way, if you didn't get the code hinting when you did the dot there, it means you probably didn't import the mouse event. So now we got to write the onClick help function. That's the event handler. Right, and our data type is going to be the same as the mouse event above, and then always they return void. And I put these little comments here to help me later on. They're not necessary, but I found that they can often be a big help. Okay, and for now we're just going to trace clicked help here. So let's just run that and make sure we have our button working. Great. So we click the help. Now what we want to do is show our instructions when we click help. So what I'm going to do is create a property for instructions. This way you can have it sort of always there and ready to go. It's pretty easy. So private var instructions, and the data type here is going to be instructions, which is in my linkage here. Okay. And we'll just set that equal to a new instructions. Alright, so that pulls out one of those instructions from the screen. And then when I click help, I can just add that to the stage. But instead of just doing it right here in this code here, I want to possibly have other ways I might show instructions. So I might let them click the H button, or I might show instructions automatically when they come to a screen, and so forth. So I'm going to create a show instructions function that I want to call then. Alright, this will give me some more flexibility later on, and now I can write out that function. Right, and that also has a void for now, not returning anything. And we're just going to do add child instructions, if I can spell it right. Alright, now this will add it to the stage when I click the button. Now obviously, like, this isn't exactly where I want it to be, so I'd have to move it around, and how you move it depends on where the registration point is. So I'm just going to double click to show instructions here. The registration point, if you can't see it very well, is right here in the center. So when you have it in the center like that, you can use stage left divided by 2 and stage width divided by 2 and stage height divided by 2 as well. So that's what we're going to do for now, just to show this. So instructions x equals stage width divided by 2. Instructions y equals stage height divided by 2. Alright, this is a common way to do if you want instructions to be able to show it. So now, that's a pretty simple one. Great, we can show it. Now, of course, the problem is I want to be able to click this and remove it. So, when we show instructions, we also want to add an event listener to the close button. So, instructions.close_btn. So, the important part to remember here is that in our movie, this close_btn is inside of instructions. So in order to refer to it, I can't just write close_btn. I have to refer to the instructions first, then close_btn. Then I can add my event listener. Click on, how about on close instructions? And then we go through the same pattern. So we're going to do basically the same thing we did before with the other one. We have an event handler on close instructions. And you could be copying this too. I try to type it so it goes a little bit slower, though I type fast. And then we're going to just call here hide instructions. Alright, so just like the other one, when we wanted to when we clicked help, we wanted to call show instructions. When we click close, we want to call hide instructions. That allows us to show and hide them easily or in different ways if we want to later. Hide instructions. So there's a few things. When we're showing instructions, we added child, so we want to do remove child on it, and we could also remove the event listener from the close button as well, just to be double safe. So there's add child up there, so we're kind of doing the opposite here on hide. Remove child instructions, and then instructions close btn.remove event listener click. Alright, and so let's see how that works. Oh, sorry, I made a spelling error. Yes. So when you get this access of undefined property and then something, usually I look at what that property is, and it's often a spelling error that causes that problem. So here it was, str. So now I'm showing it, and now I'm hiding it. So that's the very most simple way to do show and hide instructions. So in the second part here, what I want to look at is a slightly more sophisticated way to do it, where we're going to add in a few features to our instructions. So one of the first features we want to add is the ability to drag and drop our instructions around. And on that one, we're going to actually add to our instructions.as file. So one of the things that you may not know is that when you create the linkage instructions here, it's going to look for an instructions.as. If you don't do it, it's fine. It'll just do one on its own. But if you have an instructions.as, like we do here, then it will tie that class with that movie clip together. So now you have three sort of things tied together. You have the .as file, well, I guess really two things. The document, the movie clip in the library, and the .as file tied together through the linkage, where the linkage name is the exact same name as the class file except for the .as on the class file. So here we're going to do what we want to do is be able to drag it around. And so I'm going to go back here, and we're going to look and say like, all right, well this is our instructions, and I want to when if I click on here, I want to be able to drag it. So what we're going to do is instructions, because this is right to it. You can just write add event listener, and that actually adds event listener to the whole movie clip. All right, mouse event, and we're going to do mouse down, on, down. I know, not on mouse down, on down drag, let's call it. All right. Show you another way to organize things. I'm going to create the event handlers in one place and the methods in another place. Event handlers, so private function on down drag, mouse event, and so we can say this dot start drag. Right, so that starts dragging this thing here. And now basically we want to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this, except for, oops, there we go, on up drag. So that's on mouse up. Alright, and on that one it's basically stop drag. So these are actually pretty easy. On up drag, this stop drag. So start drag and stop drag. And the nice thing about the this keyword and the way we do it is that you can sort of take this same code and put it on almost any one you want, any movie clip of something in the library like we did. And let's see how this works now when we run it. So I click here, now I should be able to click this window, drag it all around, and still close it out. So that's one nice little thing that we added to. So again here, dragging it around. And that was done just simply with adding a listener for the down and the up in the instructions.as file. We could have done this in main, but this will save us some time and some space, not time, but some space in the main in the document class, so we don't clutter it up. Now the next thing we might want to do is actually slide this in and slide it out. And in order to do that, we're going to use the tween class that's built into Flash. And so I'm just going to write here tween imports. There's other ways to do this, like with tween light and other methods like that we can look at another time. This time we're just going to use the ones that are built right into Flash. So now we're going to add in our imports. And you notice before we were often doing Flash, but this one does not in Flash, it's in FL. A lot of components that you might use and so forth come in FL. So fl.transitions.tween, import fl.transitions.easing, and import fl.transitions.tween event. And actually the easing here, there's more than one easing function, and so I'm just going to hit asterisk so I get all of these. I'm going to do the dot again. So bounce, elastic, none, regular, strong, there's all these easing things. We'll talk a little bit more about those later, but I'm just going to use the dot asterisk there in order to allow me to import all of them. And so those are our imports. Now the next thing is we want to do is when we're showing our instructions here, instead of just setting it out to on the stage there, we're going to set it off the stage and then slide it in. And it depends on which direction you want to do where we're going to change this. So let's say I'm going to slide it in from the left. So instead of stage width -2, I'm going to set it to -300. Alright, so by the way, if I run that now, what we should see is when I click this, I don't see anything because it's way off to the left of the stage here. Now what we're going to do is use the tween to tween it, oops, so -300. Now we're going to use our tween instructions onto the stage. Alright, so we're going to create a variable for that. My tween is going to be typed tween equals new tween. And so the first argument we're going to put in here is what we're tweening, and then the property that we're tweening. So we're tweening the x property. Then the easing function. So the easing functions are, if you don't do this, it'll just sort of tween straight. It'll just go in a straight line wherever you're doing it, just sort of an even speed. With the easing functions, it can do things like ease in or ease out. Ease in means it starts slow and then speeds up. Ease out means it starts fast and then slows down. Alright? So what the in is the beginning and the out is the end of the tween. And so you can make it like speed up on one of the other ones, or both. Okay. So let's do that again. Strong dot, let's say that's in and out is both. In goes in, out is at the end. So we're going to use ease out. And then we want to know, well, where is it going to start and when is it going to end. So it's going to start at its current location, -300, and end at stage width divided by 2. And then now we have the duration in terms of how long is this tween going to take. So this is in seconds. I'm just going to write 1.5. And then the last one is whether it's going to be using seconds or not. So I'm going to write true here, so it uses seconds, and that will hopefully tween it. All right, let's take a look. And there we go. So I'm going to move the help over here so we can see that again. So I'm going to close this and click it again, and boom, there we go. It slides into place. So that's great. Now we want to tween it out as well. And the tweening out is a little more difficult because this is also where it's going to be important that we use that hide instructions function. Is that now what we want to do is we want to tween it, but wait till it's done tweening to actually remove it. So all this code here for remove child and so forth, we want to move to something else. So that's hide instructions. I'm going to make a new one, private function close tween complete, and this is going to be for a tween event. Close tween complete. Alright, so what this is going to do is we're going to move all this stuff here into that one, close tween complete, and then we're going to do another tween here. So it's very much the same as this one, except this time we're going to flip it around. So it's going to start wherever it currently is. And actually, the one way you can do that is instead of saying here -300, you can also use its current position, like instructions x. And then here we're going to tween out back to our -300. Now notice I've used -300 a few times now. Here, here, here. So probably it might also be good to make that into another variable that you could use, so you could change it easily if you wanted to. You might also make the duration into a variable as well. So that is the first part. Now that's just going to tween it out. So I'm just going to run this. I misspelled instructions again. Right, that tweens it out. So this is actually sort of looks like it's working, but one of the things that's happening is that since we're not removing the child, it can take up a little bit more memory. So what we're going to do is like actually have it remove the child, but we have to add in an event listener for when that tween is complete. So that's what he would do here. Add event listener for when tween is done. So my tween, add event listener, and we're going to go to tween event motion finish, and then we're going to run that close tween complete. So now when it's over, it's going to run close tween complete, which will actually remove it off the stage. And so now we should have instructions tweening in and tweening back out. So that's it.